The profile of chefs in the United States has changed enormously. I gave an interview to Fortune magazine many years ago. They were interviewing me mostly about Microsoft, but they asked what was the big culinary difference between France and the United States. And I said, well, actually, one of the key issues was how well people honor the profession of being a chef. That 20 or 30 years ago, if somebody's son or daughter became a chef, it wasn't something that you'd brag about at a cocktail party. Today, it is something you'd brag about at a cocktail party. The profile of the profession has risen enormously. The whole concept of celebrity chefs has been there. The diversity of food that is available is just amazing now. The second line of your alma mater song, it invokes Carême and Escoffier. Well, if we dug them up and revived them and took them to the French Laundry or Percé, they'd understand where they were. They'd think it's a little weird that the food actually came on plates. It's something that we don't actually think of very much, but plated food in restaurants dates from the 1970s. That was the first time that was done. It was otherwise in the Escoffier and Carême's time, you always had to have an empty plate set before the diner, and the waiter did everything, which meant the chef had no control over presentation. So it was a great thing that got changed. But they'd know where they were. But if we then took Escoffier and Carême and we took them to Momofuku, they'd say, what is up with this? And then if we took them to El Bulli, they'd say, so are we still on Earth? The diversity of what we celebrate as cuisine is much broader today. The opportunities are amazing. At the same time, I have to sound a little bit of a cautionary note. I've never really done anything I was qualified for. I have degrees in all these subjects. I never worked in them. I was chief technology officer at Microsoft. I've never had a class in computer science. In fact, arguably, my cookbook is the first thing I had any qualifications for. But here's the flip side to that story. Someone was interviewing me about the cookbook, and they said, well, they asked me to compare myself to Thomas Keller, Ferran Adria, and Heston Blumenthal. I said, well, look, you can't compare me to these guys. They are the best of the best. My accomplishments in the kitchen are nothing compared to those. He says, but now that you mention it, I will say one thing. I'm the only one of them that went to chef school. And the cautionary note is that you've received now the greatest education that someone can receive in culinary school. And I'm unfortunately the first that will tell you it's not going to be enough. So today isn't the day that you stop learning because you learned all of it and you're wired. Today's the day when the real learning is going to start. Because in fact, it's possible to be the best chef in the world, as arguably Heston or Thomas or Ferran is, and being entirely self-taught. It's also possible to have all of today's knowledge and yet look forward N years out, and in fact, what you're actually doing is very, very different. It's certainly been true in my career. I've had to learn all kinds of things as I have progressed. You're going to have to also. Now, in many ways, that's the exciting part. And you have a great advantage of having a classical education in cooking, in having a lot of the basics. But how well you do going forward isn't going to be about resting on those laurels, however great they are. Every day, you've got to make something great. In fact, it's probably more true in the kitchen than essentially any other profession. Accountants can have off days, so long as it's not like April 14th. That's a day when they really have to be on it. Chefs have to perform every time. It's not good enough to say, last week we were creative, but oops, this week we weren't. Or, mostly that dish comes out right. That doesn't cut any ice with anyone. They want their dinner to be perfect and be there. And, over the course, just as we've seen over the course of the last 30 years, when you look back some point in the future, what you'll be cooking, what the world is cooking, the techniques and technologies around it, it's all going to change and change enormously. So you're entering probably the most exciting part of your life. It's terrific to have the structure of a curriculum. Life doesn't have that structure. but you've had an incredible start to it, and I wish you all the best of luck. Thanks very much.
Today, we are pleased to bestow recognition and honor upon our commencement speaker, Dr. Nathan Myhrvold. As such, I am pleased to offer the following proclamation. Dr. Nathan Myhrvold, visionary, entrepreneur, culinarian, for your extraordinary vision in leading the creation of the 6th volume, 2,400-page Modernist Cuisine, The Art and Science of Cooking, a revolutionary book that is destined to change the way people think about cooking. For your outstanding leadership as Chief Executive Officer and founder of Intellectual Ventures, a groundbreaking company dedicated to creating and investing in inventions. For your amazing career that has included a tenure as the very first Chief Technology Officer at Microsoft, where you oversaw many advanced technology projects, as well as your culinary positions as stagiaire at Seattle's top French restaurant and Chief Gastronomic Officer for the Zagat Survey. For the many accomplishments that led to your being included in the Foreign Policy magazine's list of top global thinkers and receiving the James Madison Medal, Princeton University's top honor recognizing alumni career achievement. For your wide-ranging contributions in the field of science, including your celebrated efforts as a nature and wildlife photographer, your work on quantum theories of gravity with the renowned cosmologist Stephen Hawking, and your support of many important scientific initiatives. And in testimony to your dedication to excellence and innovation in the culinary arts, I hereby proclaim you an honorary alumnus of the Culinary Institute of America. Please join me in congratulating CIA alumnus Nathan Myhrvold. There we go.
Not meant to be worn with a cape on.
Very good.
Thank you.